life leaves the greatest impact on slavery and the slaves. The abolition movement influenced Frederick Douglass to have views on slavery. His views led him to join the abolition movement. Frederick Douglass taking part in the abolition movement led to many people having different opinions and views on him, which then impacted slavery overall. Abolition movement united people of different backgrounds for one issue, end of slavery. The abolition movement was an effort to end slavery in America and view personal freedom and the belief that all men are created equal. Its sole purpose was to make sure that everyone, including Black people, were equal. As a result, many underdogs of society, such as women and Black people, began to advocate for the freedom of other Black people. Minorities in society wanted to help Black people. They wanted to end servitude. The abolition movement was very important, was very much successful because it made slavery an urgent matter and framing slavery as immoral despite great opposition. The movement itself was able to make slavery something that was once valued and important in society into an evil.
Frederick Douglass' experience in slavery motivated him to join the abolition movement. Frederick Douglass was motivated by freedom. When Frederick Douglass was still enslaved, the only thing that kept him motivated and persistent was the thought of being free someday. When Frederick Douglass finally escaped from slavery, he wanted to help other slaves from slavery. He was also motivated by harsh treatment from slave masters. During Douglass' time in slavery, he was sometimes treated harshly by his slave masters and whipped. Douglass wanted to prevent this from happening to other slaves. All this led him to join the abolition movement.
So on the left is Frederick Douglass' article. It is decided Frederick Douglass was a promoter of anti-slavery through writing articles and persuasive speeches. So here on your left, this is an article that Frederick Douglass had written called The North Star that he wrote in Rochester, New York, and it was basically talking about how slavery was wrong and that all slaves should be freed. And on the right is a 4th of July speech by Frederick Douglass, and it says, "To him your celebration is a sham. Your boasted liberty and unholy license, your shy of liberty and equality, hollow mockery." In this speech, he was basically talking about how the United States could celebrate something such as the 4th of July, but still be hypocritical about its message, saying that we have a nation full of freedom, but then again, we have a whole nation full of enslaved thousands and millions of Black people. Altogether, his creations of his articles with the work of his speeches came to this common goal, talking about abolishing slavery, promoting the moral and intellectual improvement of the colored people, and hastening the freedom of the 3 millions of artisans. Here, Frederick also advocated and lectured alongside white abolitionists. These included Wendell Phillips, William Lloyd Garrison, Owen Lovejoy, and Frederick Douglass himself. Together, they gave many lectures to people on the topic of freedom and spoke out against slavery. During his work in the abolition movement, as a promoter, he also worked for women's rights as well. Together, the white abolitionists and Frederick Douglass created a greater impact as nationwide. This was specifically important because it was a combination of both white and Black coming together to create this common goal, ultimately showing the impact that the races of Black and white coming together will have a stronger impact than one race alone.
Okay, so Frederick Douglass contributed many factors to the abolition movement to help slaves. In 1833, Douglass put together secret schools for slaves in order for them to have more knowledge on slavery. 1841, Douglass spoke about his experiences as a slave at a convention called Massachusetts Anti-Slavery Society. 1843, Douglass joined a group of anti-slavery lecturers on a 100 conventions tour. In 1870, Douglass purchased 15% interest on the Washington, D.C. newspaper called new era to get more of his stories across. This all led to slaves being motivated by Frederick Douglass and his experiences, pushing them and gave them hope. Seeing the impact Frederick Douglass had, it gave them an idea that they could be brave and do the same thing.
Frederick Douglass was also an inspiration that encouraged other movements to form. So particularly the women's suffrage movement. Frederick Douglass was an advocate of freedom overall, but particularly for Black women because they are Black and they are also women, so they have limited rights. And over time, Douglass had a huge role, and these are similarities. So Douglass had a huge role in the abolition movement, and he also influenced many other people for legal rights. And women's suffrage was also a movement that was very influential and also impacted society today. And the movement had a large number of people participating in order to help women gain rights. And both movements had impacted society today, and Douglass made a comment in the women's suffrage, in the Declaration of Sentiments, that wanted everyone to gain freedom, particularly women, and Black women were prominent in his speech, because he wanted everyone to gain equality.
Frederick Douglass' character and opportunities helped affect the outcome of the abolition movement. He was a strong influence in the abolition movement and a man of principles. Over time, he developed into a charismatic speaker, leading to his recognition by William Lloyd Garrison, who hired Douglass as a speaker in the Massachusetts anti-slavery movement. He was able to travel around the U.S., spreading his insight on the concepts of abolition, influencing the minds of both white and Black men, which was an extensive effect towards the eventual end of slavery.
Frederick Douglass's efforts in the abolition movement resulted in the inevitable end of slavery. So the abolition movement tried to get get rid of slavery. Douglass's views, him having been a slave and having the strong feeling against it and wanting to help other slaves currently in slavery. Douglass in abolition, creating the newspaper, the North Star, and writing the books that we just read about his experiences in slavery to help urge other people more against it as well. And the views of Douglass, also how him making the books, his autobiographies, his newspapers, to get other people against it, and spread it through, help inform people in society and how bad it is. These all contributed to raising awareness on how African Americans were so badly mistreated in times of slavery, especially because he had a first-hand point of view in it and he lived it. It led to more equal rights for African Americans, such as the right to become citizens and vote, which would have never happened if he had not joined the abolition movement and contributed to the end of slavery in America, which was the abolition movement's goal.